Hi, everybody. This is Chris Wiley with Wiley Development Group. I'm here with my brothers Peter Wiley and Ray Wiley. We're just getting warmed up. Please stand by for just a minute while we make a couple adjustments on the screens, and then we will get this show on the road. So please stand by for a moment. Hi, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar event here for May. This is the fourth in a series. Everybody's just getting seated. It takes a minute to get everybody here, and as we do it, I'll start off with a couple of introductions. My brother Peter's here with us in the middle of the screen. I'm looking up at the monitor, a little tricky. Ray here is the founder of Rapid Fire Pizza and Hothead Burritos. He is joining us as essentially a sponsor of this event. As the franchisor in the system, we are a franchisee. Pete and I created a business called Wiley Development Group for the specific purpose to go out and build a bunch of stores and raise a bunch of investment capital. And that's what today's event's about. It's about how to get locations and secure prime retail locations. We'll talk a little bit about that, retaining management, and the opportunities to be part of our race to 200 stores. So I'd like to continue here just 1 minute. Let me make sure the screen's fully on. There we go. So everybody who's on the call should be familiar with the invitation. Again, we're here to talk about solving the two biggest challenges, prime retail locations and retaining management so you can grow the business. We'll talk about why the flexibility of having multiple brands gives you optionality when it comes to restaurant locations and growing your teams as you expand within your footprint. And then why we believe this is a race to 200 stores. There's a limited opportunity that we'll talk about at the end of this event for people on this call to actually become an area developer and license a market of their own, their home market, markets where they have other operations and that sort of thing. So with that, I'd like to recap really the couple of events that we've had up until now. The recordings are available on our YouTube channel and or our Facebook page. Our event last month was about social media marketing. It was with our partner at Driven Media Solutions. We talked about the things that we've accomplished that have changed the game for us in helping drive the second topic here, which is our self-pour alcohol initiative, transforming our fast casual business to be a place where you can have a date night. You can see the recording of that March event, which was co-hosted with our friends from iPorit back on March 28th. We had an event before that in February with our CPA friends, talk about how to leverage the new Tax Cut and Jobs Act incentives that literally allow you to appropriately shelter lots of income from ongoing restaurant operations with the specific tax incentive to keep building more stores every year. So today's event is all about the battle for locations. We're going to talk about how to get prime retail locations doing things that you may have never really thought about and how we're doing it and where we're going with this direction. What I'd like to do before we get too far into it is a quick poll of the audience. This will be an interactive session today, so grab your mouses, get your clicking fingers ready, and this is a chance to participate a little bit and help us understand who's here, help us guide the direction of the event. For everybody that's out there, what best describes your perspective? And I see everybody's jumping in, thank you very much. But do you operate stores? Are you multi-brand? Are you multi-unit? Are you just investigating the space and or maybe just completely new to franchising itself? So I see everybody has jumped in. Thank you very much. We'll do this 4 more times during the event, which again helps me guide talking points a little bit so we're covering the type of things people care about. I see a bunch of folks new to franchising. That's a welcome thing. You may be very interested in our sponsored owner-operator program, which we'll talk about more in the course of this event. If you're an investor in the space and you're checking out the couple of brands that we work with here in the family, We'll tell you more about those. And for those of you who are multi-brand or multi-store operators, hopefully you'll get some great ideas you can apply in what you're doing or take home with you, or maybe you decide to join us. The 4 15-minute segments will be starting with solving the 2 biggest problems, and challenge number 1. Ray, you like to say this is the biggest problem in the business, right? Finding prime retail locations. Is there anything bigger?
Well, staffing seems to be a little bit challenged nowadays, but I would say locations ranks right up there.
Perfect. Well, that's the staffing is number 2, right?
Yeah.
We talk about how some flexibility will enable your growth. We're going to talk about that solving for management retention and why that is, I think, the second biggest challenge, especially in this near record low unemployment situation. The third 15 minutes, we're going to talk about the exclusive opportunity for you to join us. And when I say us, you can join Pete and I at Wiley Development Group to go out and build a bunch of stores, to be part of the race to 200 stores for Ray's brands. Or you can be an independent area developer or franchisee and join Ray's system simply as a franchisee or an area developer. We're all working towards the same end. We're going to explain why and how. And there still is a limited opportunity for people to join Ray's systems, both at Hothead Burritos and Rapid Fire Pizza, as an area developer and actually control their local market, be that a city or a metropolitan area, or in some cases, entire states. With that, I'd like to jump into one other poll, which is a quick setup for the next topic we're going to cover. And that is, what type of restaurant locations have you operated? If you're in the business, what's your specialty? What type of locations, though? Not so much the brands, but we're looking at all sorts of locations. We'll talk about them as we go. But as an operator, for those of you who are out there who've done it, I see a few folks talking about they're responding to the shopping centers. We certainly have a lot of inline. We've been experimenting now. We have the first stores that Ray's deployed in the grocery concepts or inside grocery. We certainly explored, fantasized about airports and truck stops. We'll talk about those things as well. So again, I see a bunch of you guys have voted. Thanks for participating today. I'll let it go just about another minute here, half a minute. So, wow, almost everybody on the call is either freestanding or shopping center. In our case, we'll talk about our locations, and a very significant portion of them are in shopping center, ideally end caps. We'll talk about those and why they're better than inlines. And we have done our share of freestanding locations. With that, let's talk about how prime retail locations are really the single biggest challenge, and why a multi-brand strategy can help you solve for that. What I'm featuring here on the screen are some actual locations of ours. You notice the end caps are prominently featured, or in the case of the top left picture, we got most of the building. You have a slightly cloaked Jimmy John's there on the left-hand side. We have seen a very substantial opportunity to be part of retail development. And we'll talk about how you can stop passing on opportunities to get these kind of locations as developers in your market are creating them, or as spaces become available, tenants get in trouble, and we can move quickly to take advantage of those sites. I like to start with why operating multiple brands is really a way to get there. The maps that I threw on here yesterday are literally, I just went on to Google Maps and searched for all the subways in town, all the hotheads and all the rapid fires. This happens to be Ray's home footprint in Dayton, Ohio. I like to tell the story of how Ray was a subway guy for 20 years, right? And when he decided to take the plunge and create his own franchisor, his Hothead Burritos, he put those side by side with his original subways. And that was actually a partnership with a landlord when it started out, right, Ray?
Yeah, actually it was. Yeah, we had a unique deal that we did with them.
Yeah, and I think when we looked at it way back then, almost a decade ago, we actually saw that the old subways got a bit of a lift by having the new restaurant next door, right?
Yeah, I think to some degree it just created more of a little synergy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and as we know, one of the 4 stores that we operate here at Wiley Development Group, as we pioneered into this space, we operate 2 rapid fire pizza stores and 2 hotheads. We landed in a center in Bowling Green, Ohio, next door to a subway. And our subway neighbor was terrified when we first got there. And he said that his business, after the first 6 weeks, got a nice lift. When we run the line to the door, people go in his door. It's very complementary, so a multi-brand strategy works. What I really wanted to illustrate is that you would have thought Subway had saturated that market. I think there's almost that many Chipotles there, by the way, in that same market of Dayton, Ohio. But look how many hotheads Ray's team, the combination of Ray's corporate stores and franchisees, was able to develop in the Dayton market. And these are what, typically 3 to 5 mile distances from each other, kind of spread across town?
I'd say something like that. We don't ever really get any closer than 2 miles. But I'll say in the Dayton market, there's 20, depends on how you look at it, but we have 24 hotheads, and I believe there's 13 or 14 Chipotles.
Wow, and it's strong as ever, right? Yeah. Chipotle is its own thing. Our business is almost an entirely different spin on the same product, right? More ingredients, custom sauces, a lot of fun in a different environment. But Ray, for the purpose of these folks trying to get great locations, I'm looking at on the map at how many rapid fires you plug.
We lose you?
Oh, now I'm back. Okay, I can hear you now. Are you there still, Pete?
I got Ray.
Yeah.
I don't have Chris.
All right, let's try that again.
Hey, there we go.
Sorry about it. Yeah, I lost audio there. I saw the phone blip off. What I started to say is it's the sheer number of stores that your ability to expand and have multiple brands. I remember like the cantina you recently opened, right? That was the first one, full-blown liquor, hothead, Mexican grill, and cantina. That was another operator that you got an inside leak on it and went from a leak that it might be available to open in weeks, right? Not months.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down, I mean, when you're doing location work, a lot of it comes down to who you know. And, working through the real estate community, you can find out about locations that are coming up.
Yeah, and the fact that you had hothead or rapid fire to choose from, that may have been too close to a rapid fire. You couldn't have capitalized on it if you only had one brand. But having both brands allowed you to capitalize on that location. I know we just had one come up in Lima, Ohio, where we operate a great rapid fire location. I don't want to put another rapid fire in Lima, but I can double down and put a hothead. Right?
Exactly.
So it's multi-brand flexibility is all about where you can, or how you can take advantage of these markets. So just a quick primer, and I'll move swiftly along here. But hotheads, Ray created about a decade ago, actually 12 years ago now, I see by the dates. As a Subway operator, you created something that was as easy to operate as a Subway. Wasn't that the goal?
Yeah, very, very similar, yes.
Yep. And, what I like about a hothead location is that, in a full-blown lunch rush, 3 people can hold down the fort, right? A rapid-fire pizza is a bigger, more complex, potentially higher volume, but is a different operation. But our foundation was the hothead brand, where essentially we went after the Chipotle, Qdoba kind of space, right? But did it with more variety, custom sauces. Ray followed that up in 2015. He started exploring the fast pizza space. I think Centerville opened in September 15. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep. Very first store opened. I remember sitting in the back of that store and watching with amazement as every member of the family got their own pizza, literally down to the little kids. It's game changing. I saw an interview recently with the founder of one of our illustrious competitors, who said when he looks back, what he really did is he made pizza lunch food for the first time in history. And what we believe is that we've doubled down, and our speed, our velocity, our capacity is so much better than our competitors that you can actually eat it at lunch. The competitors tend to get very backed up. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Artisan pizza, but who wants it if you can't get it in 10 minutes or less? So one of the advantages that comes with being multi-brand is, and I've seen this happen with Ray in Dayton, Ohio, is that when a landlord's building a building, Ray, I think you've caught a ride a couple times where they leaked it to you and you got an end cap, you got a patio, right? Yep. You don't have to be in the business. Yeah, you don't have to build a building. You just got to know the guy who's building the building, right? Now, have you had cases where you've actually ended up getting a hothead and a rapid fire, or a Subway and a hothead in the same buildings, where you get more than one space?
I don't think we put them. Not yet.
Yeah, that's just a curveball. I think it's fun. But the opportunity's there, and we see an opportunity as we expand into new markets to be that partner with the landlords. We have an operator coming in potentially in Chicago market that we've been in the meetings together with the developer, and the developer has sites under construction they're thrilled that he can come in and put 2 brands in. I mean, obviously we want both end caps, right?
Right.
We prefer not the middle units, but having multiple brands at your disposal, if you're in a brand today, I saw some of these folks saying they're inline operations. If you're in a brand today, you add our brands to your portfolio, you're in the leading edge of fast casual. We'll talk more about why we're doing it even more differently and more competitively than other parties. But now those tips you get from all the parties in your network, the agents, the developers, the planners, the bankers, you can capitalize on those tips. And we'll talk a little bit more in a bit about the opportunity for build-to-suit partnerships who, if you are working with both brands, they potentially will stand up buildings for you in your market, taking advantage of all those retail outlots that were never built out. Now, let's talk about the Amazon effect and the large format opportunity. I believe that we have received literally hundreds of locations in our markets related to the Payless Shoe store closing. I mean, other people have too. We're not the only ones in the space, right? But most other restaurant concepts can't even take advantage of those locations. They're too big. They're not located correctly. They can't get a drive-through. Well, it happens that our brands, you could do a drive-through, you can do pickup windows, but we're not critically dependent on drive-throughs. We do have 2 new formats, one of which my team at Wiley Development, Pete and I are building with my son Ross, and that's in Findlay, Ohio, where we are emulating the picture you see on the screen, which is a 60 tap or plus or minus 60 tap self-pour alcohol systems. These include everything from mixed drink cocktails to wines and ciders. And in Ray's latest cantina even has self-pour liquor shots, the very first ones in the nation, right? We are pouring. Yeah, we are pouring the crap out of margaritas there, right? It's what, 27 taps? 27 taps in the cantina?
Yeah.
Well,
but more than rapid fires, we would have 5 taps of red wine, I think.
Okay. Yep, flights of wine, flights of beer. Well, we see an opportunity to capitalize on these large format buildings where we don't have QSR or restaurant competitors for them. Payless, I just use as an example. There are a couple of other concepts in the same Amazon effect challenge. So we're going to develop one of those locations. We're doing it with our money. We honestly don't know what to expect from a sales perspective. We believe we'll get a great restaurant out of it. In this particular case, we're going to anchor it with a rapid fire pizza. But think of the building as a 1/3, 2/3 split, where 2/3 of the building is an adult, watering hole. But it's anchored by the comfortable, familiar, fast casual pizza concept where people can come with their families and mom and the kids. So we have the resources to help you get there if you're interested in doing this. We are working with a number of partners who are going down this path to build these large self-pour venues. But what they realized is they need a food concept. And bar operators are not food operators. So we see opportunities now to go partner with these emerging bar operators in this really exciting self-pour space. And again, even though we're building a rapid-fire pizza and tap room first, it's whether you go with the rapid-fire pizza anchor or you go with the hothead burritos or Mexican grill anchor, you can still do the 4,000 to 6,000 square foot space, create a large venue, and drive the high dollar per tickets that you can see when you can run a 50-50, 60-40 food alcohol split. That gives us a couple of options. So again, we're talking about how to get prime retail locations. Number one, have optionality. Have both brands. You can play whichever card you need to play. You avoid the pizza restriction. You avoid the sandwich or burger restriction, or maybe the Mexican restriction, and play the other card. In these large available buildings, the 4,000 to 6,000 foot buildings, again, just repeating what I just touched on, doing that as a large 60 tap rapid fired or as a 50, 60 tap Mexican grill and cantina under the Hothead brand, 2 ways to go take advantage of space that, Ray, I believe when we've looked at these are reasonable rents. There may even be incentives from these landlords that are defaulted or have defaulted tenants to get in and get those space conversion. Fair enough?
Sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And then the other option is you could split the building. And we are considering this actively for ourselves at Wiley Development, some that we're building, where we would use either a tap room, a rapid fire version, or a hothead cantina, and then we would match up the QSR format of the other store. So we have the fast casual version of a rapid fire paired up with a hothead cantina. I'm not a fan of shared dining rooms. I believe you need 2 signs, 2 front doors, but having a pass through so you can bring food from both areas into the bar is something we're super excited about. And the last format is going back to a traditional small centers, like we showed a couple pictures of. Markets like New Jersey and Pennsylvania, where liquor licenses are very, very difficult to come by, if not impossible, we're going to be building traditional QSR formats. And again, if you control 2 brands, you have an opportunity to actually get a landlord to do some work for you. So to sum it all up, this is what we call our joint venture market partner opportunity. We're looking for folks where they're in the market, they're operating stores. For those of you on the line that have a concept that you're in and you're comfortable with and you're considering doubling down with another brand, I hope you can embrace the idea that if you have more than one brand, you don't have to drive any farther. You just put more stores in the same town, just like Ray did, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're all about. Pete and I, we have hotheads and rapid fires that we're, trying to match up in the same town to get this operational efficiency. The crews have some flexibility. There's just a whole bunch of advantages, but to sum it all up, we will co-fund these opportunities. That's what Wiley Development Group does. We're a capital company, a store operator, store developer. We're a franchisee of Rapid Fired and Hothead, which is Ray's business. And as a byproduct of what we do, we meet folks that say, look, I'm already operating, I'm doing fine, but gosh, if you put a little capital with me, I could build more stores faster. So our goal is to help accelerate the brand, diversify with our partners, both our risk, so we have multiple stores and a portfolio together, and that we can have a little bit of interest in a lot of stores and help the brands really grow. With that,
all right, Chris, thank you for going through that with us. I think what you guys will see, and it's going to be a continued theme throughout this presentation, and we'll be sending you out slides so you can review this in more detail because there's a lot of information here. But the multi-brand strategy and our flexible strategy help solve one of your biggest problems, which is finding the right prime retail locations. Chris now is going to get into your biggest challenge number 2, which Ray already talked about, which is management retention. So go ahead, Chris.
Okay, with that, we got another poll. Make sure everybody's still awake out there. Thanks again for everybody who's playing along. We appreciate it. What is the primary limiting factor in your business today? If you're in the business, and I know about half the people on the call indicated they're exploring it, not necessarily in it, but if you're in the business, what's holding you up? If you're thinking about getting into it, what's holding you up? We're here to help. We have a bunch of different ways we can help. And again, for those of you who simply want to become an independent operator, run your own show, you can do that with Ray directly. It's a win-win all around, however we come together. So thanks, everybody, for jumping in. I see most everybody in the audience has voted. There we go. Limited operational capacity to build or open stores. When I sat down with a family friend, Dan Carney, who was the founder of Pizza Hut a year and a half ago, and I described what my team was setting out to do, which was to create the capital to help operators arrive and drive in stores that we stand them up and they come in and operate them. And he said, son, if you solve that problem, you're going to solve it for many brands long term. Right now, I'll be content to solve it for our brands and for other partners who are on the line or people who may join us to cross over to Rapid Fire and Hothead. Maybe those buildings create opportunities for their other concepts. I see there's a bunch of folks on here that say there really aren't any limits. They're just exploring fast casual. So if there aren't any limits, then we'll help you get excited about what we're doing and how we're going about it. So the management retention challenge, Ray touched on it early on, right? Record low unemployment. It is a challenge. I've sat with the ladies in HR at corporate, right? Would you reduce the online application down to like something you could do in 25 seconds?
Pretty much, yeah. Better, yeah.
Yeah, please fill out our application and apply, right? So the first challenge is getting them to come through the door. The second challenge is having a story. Ray and I built a franchise brand almost 20 years ago now. For anybody on the line who's been to Cincinnati and seen Skyline Chili, we did it in the late 80s when they did their IPO. I saw the effect of cattle call interviews, getting 10 college graduates in the room, promising them a store. We were opening stores every 90 days. It was a great story. It was easy to recruit. Ray, you opened, 11 rapid fires in 1 year? And you said the number one problem was people, right?
Yeah, it was a little tricky. That's a little too many for one operator.
Yeah, well, this concept of management retention and using sponsored owner operators is not a new idea. By the way, this is the oldest vintage Pizza Hut picture I could find. We were born in a Pizza Hut family. My dad was one of the very first employees of Pizza Hut. He worked in that very first store that's now a museum. We actually went to a lot of Pizza Huts that looked like this. I think we built them all over the country, moved every year of our lives. But Dan Carney told me that the way they got those first 50 to 100 locations built is that he and Frank basically staked their buddies, their frat buddies, their high school friends, anybody who worked for them, drive 20 miles to the next town, we'll buy the land, we'll put the building up, you operate it. When they did their IPO 10 years later, they made over 100 people into millionaires, right? I mean, we can't predict the future of our brand, but what I can tell you is that the getting people into ownership gives them the foundation to then build more stores of their own. And unless you want to go, get windshield time behind the counter in these stores, as an investor or as an area developer, we want to secure owner-operators, right? Pete and I did it in a grand experiment with my son Ross. We'll talk about more in a minute. But again, we didn't invent the idea. I would say Dan invented the idea. But then came Chick-fil-A, famously, right? But there's a challenge with the Chick-fil-A system, which, by the way, is not much different than 7-Eleven's system. You can earn the opportunity to own a store, but you're only allowed to have one store, and you're going to be behind the windshield. I say it is, and they would be insulted by this, but it's almost indentured servitude, right? Yeah, you get to farm the land, but you get stuck on that one piece of land. What we're trying to do is create an opportunity, which we've proven with my son Ross, and now we're expanding with other managers in the system. Again, Ross gave us the idea, and as capital guys, we thought we can repeat this. The idea is to give each operator the chance to build up to 3 stores. They've got to hit their numbers. If we can progress at a stage of about 1 store a year, then ultimately we'll talk in a minute about how they create their own area management in the process. By the way, famously, Steak and Shake came out, started about a year ago, right? They have a program. I believe you pay something like $10,000. You go to school for 60 days, and they will anoint you a sweat equity owner in a store. But the same constraint applies. You're stuck in that one store. There's no vision or path to you breaking out and creating wealth for yourself. It's about, we need managers to staff our stores, and we'll give them some equity. We have the opposite view. We want to do what we did with Ross. With Ross and Alicia, so Ross was in the military, he was in the Coast Guard. He was the 500th surfman in the Coast Guard, kind of like the Kevin Costner movie. But the vision was sort of lost. The dream was lost. The mission of the Coast Guard had changed. And he was infatuated with the family restaurant business. So we challenged Ross to come out and spend a weekend, which we would do with any military vet who wants to come check us out. He came out and looked at these stores and fell in love. We put together a package. Pete and I, we put together kind of a couple partners. They were family members. We staked Ross and his wife, Alicia, who was a 10-year vet of Starbucks. They parachuted out of the military on his exit orders and landed just in time to hire the crew and finish opening his first store in Lima, Ohio. That rapid fire pizza, it was a blessing, right? Every store is not a barn burner. This one was a good store, but it created enough capital over the next year to open the second store. And so Ross was on store 2 of the plan. We had an opportunity to acquire a couple of hotheads from a franchisee who wanted to retire. Twinkle, twinkle, poof. Ross was in 4 stores inside of 2 years, and now we're building his 5th store. I won't tell you it's without challenges. Pete and I run the back office. We run the numbers. We've had the interventions. God bless Ross if he's on the phone. Right? And Ray, you said it. Every franchisee, you equip them with all the tools you can, and everybody reaches a breaking point. Everybody has a panic moment, right?
Yeah. Yeah. When
is it your job?
1 year, I did.
Well, is it your job as a franchisor to talk people off a ledge when they, get too many stores open too fast and they panic and, and the winter storm hits?
It's easy for us to sell 10 franchises to different people and they go out and open those stores. But when you're an operator and you personally, like we were, corporate stores, we opened 11 rapid fires, I think in about 12 months. And, for any operator, opening that many stores, 1 a month is just tricky. So. Yeah.
Well, for Pete and I, we had that, the second rapid fire open and simultaneously took over the hotheads, and we were spread pretty thin. And both of us have day jobs in our consulting work. So here we are all in. We've seen it work with Ross. Ray and the team have been great support because, I'm not the franchisor. I'm a capital guy. I'm bringing the money, making this deal work. And now we are cloning this process and taking it out to other operators. And it's driven by something that's super exciting. We talked about it in a prior event, the tax incentives. They have always been good. Ray used to tell me, never stop building stores. And that was a great tax incentive plan. They called it Section 179, accelerated depreciation. Well, then, under the current administration, they technically backdated it to Q4 2017. The Tax Cut and Jobs Act literally gives you 100% investment tax credit, which is a write-off for future years' income when you open a store. The key is you have to be a leasehold tenant. You can't own the building. It's not an incentive to build buildings. It's an incentive to open restaurants and create jobs. So in the scenario with Ross, as we open store after store after store, we are compelled to keep him on a year-over-year store opening process, right, Pete? We need those tax incentives because they allow the store to produce a lot of cash, and that cash can be continually reinvested. So whether we're talking to people as sponsored owner-operators to operate the store with us in a 3-store plan, or the joint venture market partners like our friend in Chicago who wants to put a bunch of stores up, we want to reinvest, reinvest, reinvest. This is not about harvesting all the money out of the stores. This is about building a foundation, and we'll talk in a minute about the race to 200 stores. But solving more than management retention is what this is about. By creating the store opening velocity, even just a store a year in a market, 11 was a little extreme in Ray's case, but even if you just keep up your pace and everybody knows the next store's coming, you can retain those shift leaders, those first line non-management personnel that'll hang around with you after they finish college, right? The assistant managers who now believe they're going to get a store, and the GMs who can smell ownership. And I can tell you that in our experience, the GMs, once they're on that side of it and they see it, cost controls snap into place. Things they didn't understand and didn't care about suddenly matter. I think one of our bigger challenges is getting the GMs to take a day off. It's not that they won't work hard enough. Once they smell it, once they're under the hood, they become a bit of a workaholic. So we're looking for seasoned managers, whether you're management in the military, you're management in a Chipotle, you're management in a full-service restaurant. If you've been paying your dues and working the system, but it's not working for you and you don't have an ownership opportunity, we have an opportunity for you to come join us. Again, as Wiley Development Group, we can stake operators to build stores. We bring limited partners along with us. We'll talk about that in a minute. And our goal is to build the lives of these operators and build our business together with them. The goal is not a job. You don't want a one-store job. Too many franchise systems are just that. Last but not least, we fund, you operate. That's the sponsored owner-operator program. It's no more complicated than that. Your job is show up, don't run out of food, give great customer service. We'll run the back office. We'll do the financial controls and the marketing.
Great. Thanks, Chris. And I think this exciting structure between solving one of the most biggest problems, retail locations, and then management retention. With this structure, it gets us pretty fired up. So Chris is going to take us right into, to make sure we stay on time, that they've got an amazing opportunity, this run and this exclusive opportunity to race to 200 stores. So I'll let you just keep going, Chris, with that.
Perfect. One more poll for the audience. Thanks, everybody, for playing along with the questions. Super helpful in keeping us on track. What type of locations have you actually developed and opened? I mean, built them. We meet a lot of people who've operated stores, but what type of experience do the folks in the audience have actually building stores, creating new locations from scratch? Again, I appreciate you guys playing along, provides a little additional perspective for everybody, and helps me pick a direction. We're going to talk about various types of formats that we've dealt with and the advantages and pros and cons of them. Converting buildings, right? That's the most common opportunity. Trying to find locations, like we talked about in the first segment, is all about somebody else going out of business so we can convert it for our use. We talked about how Ray's had caught the ride a couple times with builder developers, as we have, to pick a new location and get it, go cold shell or white box to a finished store. New construction is increasingly part of the game, so maybe you'll be excited about what we have to offer there with our build-to-suit partnerships. So we are in what I call the race to 200 stores. Today, Ray's built the Hothead Burritos brand to over 100 stores. I think it's 108 now, if I'm not mistaken, with the Cantina, 105, 107.
That's the combined.
Sorry, 75, 75, 78.
We have 100.
There we go.
100,
sorry.
I believe it's 106 between the two brands.
There we go. Yeah, so a little more than 30 of the rapid fire pizza stores.
Right.
You can see this is my attempt to plot them on a map. The gold states are where area developers have joined us as far flung as California, Texas, and Florida. And in some cases, they cover one brand, just Rapid Fire or Hotheads. In other cases, they cover both brands. Those gold states are not necessarily all licensed out, but we have people on the ground. We have support systems going. We have stores opening. So we have been focused on fanning out from Ohio, and we were fortunate to have these folks join us. Most came over from other brands. Famously, folks who built storied brands like Tilted Kilt joined us along the way. People from the Subway systems, from the Burger King systems. We are all about bringing together team members who've seen it in other brands and they want to be part of this early stage race to 200 stores. Sorry, we're doing this in the hottest market segment. I did check the updated stats. The fast casual market, according to a couple of different data geeks, it was growing at 8 or 9% a year for the last 9 years. It slowed down a little bit last year, reportedly to about 7%. And all the writing, just as recently on the plane out this weekend, everybody is saying you've got to define yourself, right? There's 7 different salad concepts. There's 5 different pizza concepts. There's multiple Mexican concepts, and we're right in the middle of the fray. Well, I like to say in the bottom part of the screen here, we are top right quadrant. We came in as a second mover. We looked at the fast pizza. We changed up the things that we believed were compromising their operations, and we do it differently. Hothead Burritos has remade itself even twice along the way. Today, both brands feature self-pour alcohol where it's available. It's still an experiment for us, but what we found is over on the left side, what the fast casual patron wants is they want the high-quality, fresh food any way they want it, but increasingly they will choose the location based on their ability to get alcohol, a glass of wine, and not a bottle of beer. We tried that, Ray, right? We had bottled beer and wine and cider. It barely was worth having a liquor license for. We put in self-pour, and now in the cantina, people actually arrive, meet their friends, have a cocktail, and then order food, right? We're seeing people linger. Yeah, and I think we've even seen a bit of a shift in the dine-in percentage as people realize, hey, I'll stay and have a beer with it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's moved, and we believe that, and again, it's still early for us. We're barely into a year of this, only a couple months at the franchisor level, but we believe the fast casual self-pour alcohol is going to really change the business. We'll talk about that more in a minute. We've hit a velocity now of about 1 store per month per brand opening. That 11 last year in corporate stores was exhausting, right? But now you're supporting franchisees. And like you said, it's a lot easier if you have 11 franchisees each open 1 store. That's just a lot of flights in 1 month, right?
Yeah. Right.
So, at any rate, the system, not that the numbers matter as much as it might, but, hitting $1 million a week, that was a pretty cool milestone for Hothead, right? As a system, we're starting to command real leverage with partners, notably beverage partners or food supplier partners or advertising partners. We are cresting that level, whereas a super regional brand, we're in the second leg of the race. We can see our way through to that 200 stores because there's enough franchisees in the system citing stores on their own, right? I mean, isn't a lot of what you guys do at corporate is you're reviewing sites, helping people with site plans, running demographics, all that stuff, right?
Yep.
I mean, you're just getting pummeled with inbound sites from franchisees and area developers, right?
We have a fair amount of activity, yes.
Yeah, it's hot. So you can be part of that. Again, you can't franchise a Chipotle. Systems like Qdoba are pretty well licensed out around the country. The other competing pizza brands famously went out, tied up a lot of markets. We're in the business for regular operators like us, folks that are in a brand or new to the franchising space, but want to get into it and really be part of the fight. We believe we have a very strong foundation now, and we're growing at a nice clip. Self-pour alcohol, if you haven't seen it, is changing the business. We launched it with social media. It really took off virally. I can't say that it made massive changes in the sales of the restaurants. It did change them. It improved dollar per ticket. It changed the customer experience, though. What we saw is literally by rolling out these retrofit systems, which were cabinet-based, roll it in, install it in the dining room, these systems, which now evolved to MidStore Systems, have changed the feel of the restaurant. We've actually gotten to the point where, again, we're seeing alcohol on every table during the Friday and Saturday evenings. That, if you think about it, if you go out and spend, $8 each on a pizza and $8 each on a cocktail, it doubles the dollar per ticket for the people who are drinking. And nobody thinks twice about spending that. I just spent $12 in the airport for a beer and for the beer to go with my sandwich. Alcohol is a discretionary purchase. So if you're looking at fast casual, we believe this is game changing. It falls into the category, Pete, of don't try this at home, kids, right? Let's just say we have the scars from a year of learning how to do this business. And when I mean that, I mean the self-pour alcohol. It sounds easy, sounds fun, but you want to do this with somebody who knows what they're doing. This is a VIP night at one of the cantinas. This was an absolute riot. You can see it on our website. You can see it on YouTube. You have to watch 5 or 6 or 7 people at a time simultaneously pouring their own alcohol to believe it. The cantina created a really fun, again, date night environment. We've got cocktails. We've got, first in the nation liquor pour shots. We take the lights down a little bit after 7 o'clock and people can relax and stay around a little bit. Again, we're not a bar. We're fast casual, but we're fast casual where you can meet your friends and hang out and have a little fun. Hey, Pete, did the liquor shots get some traction yet? I know the cocktails are going crazy, but...
Yeah, they're picking up. People are starting to figure it out. You can add it to a margarita to make Cadillac margarita.
Yeah. Float it on top like I showed in the video. Go check out our videos. Yeah. So being part of a system like this, what's this about? Well, we have, about a dozen or so area developers. I think that's 15 as of this slide. Area developers who sign up for the system are, in a minimum amount of stores commitment per year. Whether they build as many as they say, who knows, right? It's all about the location problem. See problem number 1, problem number 2. But we have a bunch of great folks who crossed over from other brands that have the resources to help our franchisees grow. I'm partnering with certain ones, Pete and I together. We're partnering with the ones who want to put up locations together and co-invest and sponsor owner-operators. So whether you're an existing operator and you're just looking for another brand, or if you're looking to get into franchising, got a little bit of money but not a lot, we can talk to you, but we do it in cooperation with the area developers. But we can see our way clear to 200 stores. 200 stores is not 5 years away, not in my opinion. We're at 100 plus, right? We'll open maybe 25 a year just because franchisees are doing it. They're submitting site plans all the time. So my goal at Wiley Development Group is to be the largest operator of stores when we crest that milestone. So we got to run hard and run fast. We'd love to have you be part of it. Private equity investors are part of what's fueling it. My team comes from capital markets. There was a point in our career where Ray and I built those Skyline Chili restaurants, and I hung up the keys when we sold those things. And I'm going back to banking. This stuff is nuts. I watched from the sidelines all these years, brainstorm with Ray, watched him launch Hothead, and then come in and launch Rapid Fire. But it wasn't until my son got involved and I got under the hood in the stores and I realized all these conversations I have in New York about cash-on-cash returns and ROIs and all that stuff, New York doesn't know what restaurants are. Restaurants are potentially very profitable. That's why firms like Darden and Rourke and KKR are piling money into the space. So what we've done at Wiley Development Group is we're partnering with the smaller private equity groups to fuel our initial growth. If we've met a lot of folks on the webinars that are looking at investing in the space, wanting to test the water, we could talk about how to do that with us. We lead the investments. We're here first. We're looking for people to expand our capacity to roll, who believe in this idea of creating the sponsored owner-operators. I'm sharing a slide here from Paul on my team. It illustrates, and I won't explain it today, but it's always about a team. Ray, I think it's fair to say in all your years of building restaurants, there's always a couple of folks involved in every store, right? It's always a partner with another partner, right? Yeah, you get the loan on this one, I get the loan on that one, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's all about a portfolio.
Your firm gets a down payment. They get a few friends together, and everybody throws in a little bit of money, and kind of spreads the risk, and it makes it a little more easy on the first one.
Well, and it's a portfolio business, right? I mean, Pete and I can say it. We bought some stores, and we knew we were going to be a turnaround project. We had 2 strong stores to back them. Yeah, we piled money into a couple stores that we bought at 60 cents on the dollar because of the the condition they were left in by the prior operator, but it's a portfolio business, and here we are 9 months later, those stores are contributing to the bottom line. So it's a portfolio business. The message that we want to get across is whether you're thinking about doing this as an operator with us, as a joint venture partner, or potentially co-investing with us, we lead the investments, we're sponsoring the operator, we're controlling the cash, and we want to grow a portfolio of stores together. So good things happen when brands get big. Who knows where this brand is going to go? These are my favorite examples. I know the CFO took Shake Shack public. We have friends who are part of the Fat Burger system. We've watched these big brands. Ray and I grew up in Pizza Hut. We've watched people launch brands. There's more than 60 brands launched by the Pizza Hut family. It was the statistics I heard at a bit of a reunion they had. Right? It's a crazy number of brands, all from Wichita, Kansas, if you can believe that. But the point is, we don't know where we're going to be, but we do know when you get to 200 locations and 100 under development that a lot of people get interested, and we want to own and control as many stores as possible when that day comes. The goal of our joint venture limited partner relationships is we co-fund it with you, we lead the investment, we do the operations. So whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a consultant, a sign builder like one of our potential partners, if you like the space and you want to get in it, maybe the stores are a customer of yours, we're giving you a safe way to spread your risk, get in the game with us and be part of the excitement, and really scale the brands with us as a limited partner without having to get your hands dirty. Elena?
I think what we see here, and I think you guys are going to get a consistent theme, is that there's a lot of different options to participate, and there's a ton of momentum in this race to 200 stores. So it's a really exciting time to be involved. Given that, some of y'all out there want to control your own market, and there's a great opportunity. So our last segment is going to be about the area development opportunity. Go ahead, Chris.
Perfect. One more poll. Make sure everybody's still awake. We're going to wrap this up here and get you home by the top of the hour. What type of experience do the folks on the call have with franchise systems? I know some people already said they're new to franchise systems, but for those who've been in franchise systems, what type of experience do you have? Is this something that would make a lot of sense to get into area development? Have you ever considered what area development might mean? I see most everybody has voted. There we go. A couple more votes. Thanks, everybody, for playing along. No experience in franchise systems. Okay, so we got a bunch of new folks to this. The sponsored owner-operator program may be the place to start. For those of you who have worked with area developers or development agents, as they're called in the subway system, we'll talk about why that is a potentially great opportunity for certain folks, if you have the resources and you have your market. So this is a limited opportunity, and as we expand the brands across the states, as I do our events and as we work with our real estate development partners and capital partners, we meet a lot of folks who simply want to become a franchisee. We're not the franchisor. That's Ray's business. If you have an interest in becoming either a rapid-fired or a hothead franchisee or exploring those systems, we can get you the initial information. Ray's team will take you and run with it, and they can deal with all the things you need to find out if you just want to, control your own market, play your own game. You don't need to do it with us. Again, it's a win-win. It's all in the family. His business is franchising, our business is building stores, and we believe a fair number of you might want to have us invest with you. The key to area developers is that, or what Subway called development agents, is that their business is to be the front line of Ray's organization, right, of the franchisor in their local market. Again, we have them on the ground in a dozen or more states. Their mission is to help franchisees sign up. It's to help those franchisees find locations, get their stores set up, train them, and inspect those stores. For anybody the folks on the call here who did acknowledge they know what area development is about, the real opportunity is the long-term life of store royalties that build your business. So we're interested in people who want to develop 20 stores, that don't want to work in all of them, that like the selling, they love the real estate part. Our favorite area developers are really active, always calling in with a location. What we're trying to do at Wiley Development Group is bridge that gap. I think as one of the guys in Florida said, every time he's got a franchisee who's hot and ready to go, he can't find a location. Then he gets a great location, he can't find a franchisee. We're trying to bridge that gap with capital so that we can queue up locations and have money available when a great operator who doesn't have quite enough money to qualify can get across the line. So you can do it with or without us. The key is to get in the game, and I like to summarize the difference between us and the other people is we have second mover advantage. Ray studied Chipotle and Mod back when he launched Hothead and continually studies the competition. He studied, Chipotle and Mod, the Qdoba.
Yeah.
Studied Blaze and Mod and Pi5 and all the other guys when he decided to get into fast pizza. We all studied them. We all contributed thousands of pictures and study. The key thing is we believe we're doing it better, faster, with more variety, and adding the self-pour alcohol into it is changing the whole feel. It's created an entirely new competitive advantage for us. And if you want to be part of that, we'd love to have you be here as an area developer or an independent franchisee if you're just getting started and you don't need our help. The quick overview of the brands, again, these are light, friendly, fun environments. We're trying to avoid the traditional sterile environments of some of the competitors. Love polished concrete, but got to warm it up a little bit. The food is awesome. You don't have anything if you don't have great food. We've got every variety of this typical menu you're going to see in these concepts, from nachos and tacos to quesadillas and queso. Pete's team comes up with endless supply. He's the marketing piece of it as a consultant to the brand. But between him and the product development people, constant flow every month, monthly, limited time offers. The team invented toasted burritos and bowls and tacos last year. It's been a great hit. And things like teriyaki bowls. I mean, I live in Seattle, right? Everybody in Seattle understands teriyaki. Half a chicken, rice, teriyaki, and some cabbage. But in the Midwest, who would have known teriyaki bowls would be one of our hottest limited time offers? Is that on the menu now permanently?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's stuck around, right? It's stuck around. Now, personally, I live in Seattle. I have a taco truck family nearby my house. I have a Mod Pizza down the street as well. But I love tacos. I love the street tacos. We've been experimenting with all kinds of tacos. And now that the cantinas are open, we're experimenting with gigantic nacho platters because people want to drink and just grub, right?
Yeah.
Ray, I did update these. I want you to know I got in the FDD this morning. For those of you who are looking at franchise brands, I talk to franchisees or potential franchisees every day that have been looking at them. They looked at item 19 out of 10 different franchise systems. This is the perfunctory document. The bottom line is the top 10% of the stores in both brands are right around the $1 million mark. The averages you can see on the screen. If you want to go down the path with us, have a conversation. We'll go through the disclosure process as long as you're in a state where we're registered, and we're in most of them. Bottom line is I have researched many, many brands before Pete and I took the plunge and decided to put Wiley Development Group together the way we did. What we found is there's about 3 dozen brands that do between $500,000 and $750,000 a year. We're proud of the fact that the brands Ray created consistently, you can see the numbers, top 50% averaging $765,000 a year. That crushes 30 other franchise concepts. It just does. And I know this from a landlord developer perspective. Our goal, Pete and I, we took the plunge first on self-pour alcohol, try to get our AUVs up, get the average ticket up. We've moved the needle. We're not quite where we want to be. It's taken a lot of marketing, taken a long time to train customers to remember that we've got alcohol and come get a flight, right? But little by little by little, they're becoming more and more loyal. And the cantinas that open purpose-built with alcohol, again, too early to tell what the numbers are going to be. But, Ray, I think the alcohol has been a very significant part of sales, right?
Yeah, seems to be.
Yeah. So, our goal was to get, 5, 10, 15, maybe 20% of sales. Our 3 stores where the pilots are all over the map. Right now, it is a customer education and marketing exercise, but we're super excited about it. And Pete and I see from the data, the system scans your driver's license. So we know we're building a loyal base of returning customers who come back regularly. So it's just a matter of time, but we believe we can, in our stores at Wiley Development, we're going to drive our AUV slowly or steadily higher. And I know within Ray's system, it's optional for people to do the alcohol, but it works in both brands. We're piloting it. We'll see where it takes us. If you haven't been to a Rapid Fire Pizza, or if you have been to our competitors, the experience, let's say it's categorically similar. Blaze, Mod, Pi5, Piology, they all produce an artisan pizza. None of them do it as fast as we do it. None of them can handle the large lunch rushes or dinner rushes the way we do. And the reason is the oven technology, it's the way the food is delivered on the line. It all combines to be what I describe, it's like a non-fuel injection sports car, right? It is a lot of moving parts. It's 5 to 7 people on a line, slinging pizzas. It is a crazy, fast, fun environment. But it's like Disneyland. If we can get a line to the door and their feet keep moving, everybody gets their pizza in 10 minutes, right? Super happy. You go into our competitors, and I guarantee you, if you walk in during a peak lunch, you won't get pizza in anywhere near 10 minutes. Because even though they can cook a pizza fast, they can't make it fast. They have paddle-driven ovens. They have people there working the ovens. The concepts make great products. Our concept flows. And this is a business of peak rushes, right? You make all your money during lunch and dinner. So, and then add on to that, both concepts unwittingly built effectively to handle third-party delivery, right? In the rapid-fire system, people may ask, do you do delivery? Well, yeah, we took a stab at it. Ray'd been in delivery systems before, right, Ray? Worked in the Domino system years ago, right?
Long time ago.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, so we tried it, and what we found is we wanted to turn that right back over to the new third-party delivery companies that have finally made it to most of our markets. I know we just turned 2 of our stores on to the DoorDash platform. The point is, in the other pizza concepts and in the other Mexican fast casual concepts, when they get a bunch of online orders, they have to stop serving the people on the line. It can be a train wreck. Our stores, generally, not all of them, but especially new store designs, are built to accommodate those online orders flowing in. And, people making online orders are separate from people making the customer-facing orders. It's all about it being able to grow your AUVs. So doesn't cripple us. It just adds to the business. Lots of fun pictures, clean, simple environments. Our stores are really very similar. If you're into both brands, it's just a different food product. The pizza's a little more complex and a lot more moving parts and a little bigger footprint. But at the end of the day, the brands are complementary and it gives you optionality. We have a lot of our area developers who represent both brands. And I believe we have a number of franchisees like Pete and I that operate both brands, right, Ray?
Yes, correct. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. Just getting down to wrap up. We got 4 minutes left. Economics, you can see they're very similar for the rapid fire system. The store is just under $1 million, $6,000 short in the AUV in the top 10%. But again, we just started with self-pour. We started some other initiatives. The third-party delivery has really started to catch on as we shifted from doing it ourselves to really marketing it to those outside companies. Our goal has always been $1 million stores. We're reaching for that every day. We're experimenting with everything to get there. And that's all about being able to pay the rent in the nicer locations, in the build-to-suit opportunities, and really grow the brand together. And part of this is all about density of stores. So join us as an area developer or a franchisee. Again, you can sign up with Ray's Systems to become either. We will help if you are interested in capital support. We will co-invest with you. We're not going to fund people blindly. We will co-invest with people that have some resources, that believe they can do more stores with our help. The other's a few strings attached, but it'll be a lot of fun. And Pete and I are living this dream every day. I hung up my consulting shingle last year and decided that at 56, it's time to put all the chips on the table and let's go for it. So join us for the race to 200 stores, and we'll have a lot of fun together. You'll see on the back of this, there's a slide set that'll go out that Elena will share. There'll be a copy of or a link to the recording of the event if you want to review it again, if you're really, that crazy, or you want to share it with your friends. But 4 ways to participate with us. 1, become a sponsored owner-operator. Whether you're coming out of the military, coming out of another system, somewhere where you don't have an ownership opportunity, we believe we can make it happen with you if you're the right person and the right references. If you are operating in a market and you are contemplating taking on another brand, maybe trying another store, why don't you build 3 to 5? Do it with us. We'll partner with you. We'll bring in limited partners along with us. If you like what you're hearing and you're testing the space and kicking the tires, we're a way you can get into the brands, get into the space by investing in stores and not get your hands dirty. And again, we've just finished talking about it for 15 minutes. Just run your own show, be an area developer, be an independent operator. Any way you want to do it, it's a great opportunity. So there's contact information for us. Again, they'll come out. That will be in the follow-up information. Next month's event coming up the last Thursday of every month. We'll be talking about capital financing, how to take your business to the next level, whether you do it with us or do it without us. We're all about scale, and again, we're all about race to 200 stores. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I actually ended on time. I hope everybody had some fun. It was a little late the last couple of weeks, right, Elena?
Exactly. You did great, Chris.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. And write to Ned or Elena, and they will connect us all together if you have more questions. Have a great day. And the recording will be available through a link. Thanks, guys. I want to shut her down.